also some of the things that I do. As Shelley said, I'm an assistant professor at College St. Elizabeth. I teach courses in assistive and educational technology to teachers and oversee our master's program in special education. And also a very avid blogger and on AssistiveTechBlogspot.com. And I talk a lot about different kinds of mind mapping and visualization tools that I feel are really important for the kinds of students that we work with, both kids with abilities and also learning differences. I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm also an author. I've actually written a couple of books. I'm professionally trained as a psychologist. I've written some parenting books. Also, I've done a video through National Professional Resources on assistive technology, and also do a fair amount of blogging on different topics. One of the really nice parts about the personal brain is the ability to kind of drill down. I mean, this is almost it's a three-dimensional relational database, and it makes it really easy to kind of drill down. So if I click on bio, you can see how these, which are called child relations, come with it. And I'm going to click on visual learning because I think this is really important to everyone involved. And I'm really kind of talking a little bit here about sort of brain behavior and its importance in using a product like this. One of the things that we know is that the brain does not process information in a linear way, and yet many schools continue to present information in that way. So it's important that schools take a look at how they're presenting information. In this case, the personal brain allows us to present information in a nonlinear fashion. Also, it allows us to organize and also analyze information, and you'll see hopefully through the presentation today how that's possible. Also, I believe that using tools like the personal brain allows students to think more critically about information and group information and categorize information. The other part, too, it forces students to use both parts of the brain, both text and non-textual. You can see that I've pasted some icons that kind of get larger, which allow students to visually make some connections. The other part we know from research is the importance of advanced organizers for students so that they may be presented with this information as a web prior to being introduced to the information. Background information is very important, and it's very easy to embed rich resources into the personal brain, whether they're URLs or to a website or actual documents, whether they be PDFs or Microsoft Word documents or any kind of documents that you might have, are very easily both embedded into the personal brain, which is important because it keeps everything together, or you can also use it as a link, which I'll show you. The other part, too, is that having tools like this, I believe, it allows students to interact with information in a different way, and definitely is an aid in memory. So we have the kinesthetic, we have the visual, and also the text-based information, which definitely makes it easier for students to retain information. And if you're working with students who have learning differences or learning disabilities, you know that the visual representation of the information is very, very important. There's been a lot of research on best practice, and certainly best practice would dictate that there would be non-linguistic representation of information, and so a product like the personal brain is great for that as well. Also, increase attention. A lot of students we work with have a diagnosis with attention deficit disorder, and it's hard sometimes to keep them, their focus and attention on projects. And again, this can make for a great tool to be used for projects. And also, it's a great tool as a teacher, as an instructor for developing your lesson plans and embedding them in your lesson plans. So it's a great tool in that regard as well. So just kind of give you a little bit of background why I think these tools are very, very important in terms of working with students. Just for those of you that may not be familiar with how to use the personal brain, I just want to really kind of show you how easy it is to get started. This is called the plex, or the starting point, and you can see it kind of pulsates to give you a focus. And what I could do is just clicking on the top of this, I could just pull this out, and I'm going to create a parent. So I'm going to talk about my teaching, and all I'm going to do is hit the Enter key, and you can see I now have an idea of teaching. And now under that, I'm going to put some categories. So I'm going to type Assistive Technology, which I teach. And just a little quick shortcut is I'm going to use the semicolon, and I'm going to type Special Education. And now I'm going to hit the Enter key. And when I do that, you can see that I now have two subtopics under teaching. What's really great is the ability, like I said, to kind of drill down and put the central point right in the middle. So when I click on Assistive Technology, you can see that that becomes the central focus. Now, if I was using this in the classroom, I may want to, let's say attach a document to that. I happen to have a PDF file, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab it on my desktop, and just going to drop it where it says Assistive Technology. You'll now notice that I get the familiar PDF icon for Assistive Technology. Now, right now, this is showing that little shortcut, meaning it's a link. But say I wanted to move this or save this to another location. If I right-click on this and I say Move File into Brain, I want you to look at my desktop where that file is right now. And now when I click on it, you'll see that that PDF file was moved from my desktop right into the Brain, and now it's located right in the Brain. As far as making additional categories, if I click on this, which is it gives me a child relationship, I may want to break this down to my different courses that I teach: assessment, clinical practice. So now I have two ideas underneath that. And again, I might drag, here's a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going to drag that there. And you can see that now if I clicked on this, PowerPoint would open, and I could view this particular PowerPoint presentation. The other part too is I can easily attach different graphics to this by actually pasting them. I'm going to use the search web, and I'm going to go out to Google, and I'm going to find, let's say, a picture. I'm just going to find a picture of an apple, and let's see, it goes out to Google, and I'm going to go to Images. There's a good apple. So I'm going to right-click on this, and I'm going to copy the image. And you also notice I'm using one of the nice things about Personal Brain, and it makes it really handy, is that if I go into the window menu, you'll see that I have it set to auto hide right, which means that I can always have it available to me. And notice when I click outside the window, it collapses. So again, it could be a great repository of information as you're working through the day. I'm going to click on clinical practice, and I'm going to go to paste thought icon, and you'll notice now that the picture of the apple is there, and when I roll over it, you'll notice that it gets much larger. I could also add links to my Personal Brain. So, for example, if I want to say, go here, just going to attachment. Go ahead. I could link, and if I wanted to, let's say I'm going to go to a website. In this case, I'll go to wadi.org, and if I click on it, when I click on it, you can see that it takes me right out to the web, which is a really nice feature. So again, in this demonstration, just want to show you how quickly you can create your personal brains and use it as a repository of information. If you're a teacher, it's a great way to construct your lesson plans and really store a tremendous amount of information in there. As far as students, it's a great organizational tool for doing research, taking notes. If I click on assessment, you'll also notice that I have a note area here, so students can And you can also copy and paste information from the web. So I'm just going to click on this, right-click, do a copy, come back, and paste information in. And if I want, I can also insert the date and time. So students can, organize their research projects and type their notes, and also link websites to the personal brain, which is really, I think, an exciting feature. So that's just want to show you how easy it is, and it's just as easy to add information. If I wanted to add more information, I just pull this down, and I'm going to write, let's say, group dynamics. And you can see now I have another child here, and if I click on this, that becomes the central point. You'll also notice that down over here, these are called pins, and think of it almost as leaving some breadcrumbs as to where you've been and how you've navigated your personal brain, which makes it really easy to jump back and forth. So if I click on here, you can see how quickly it can take me back to a particular item. So that's a really easy way, just kind of a quick overview as to how you create a brain. And I know it always comes up, well, how do you get started doing this? And really, I think the way I've learned how to use software over the years is by, certainly, you could download a trial of the personal brain and just kind of play with it. You can download the manual, and I know, in addition, the personal brain has webinars on an ongoing basis. But I think just kind of, figuring out a project that makes sense to do, and creating a small project definitely is the way to go, and you'll find that learning it becomes really easy. So think small, but do jump in and do play with it. It's a very exciting application in terms of some of the things that it does. I'm going to go back to my teaching brain, which is a larger brain, and go to blogging. And again, these are some of the things that I do. One of the really powerful features, both for students and for teachers, is the ability to search for information. And if you think of this as a visual database of information, then you're on the right track, because I can go into the search and I can type like assistive, and you can see one of the exciting parts is that all the information in the brain is indexed, which means that it finds it very, very quickly. So regardless if your brain has 50 items or 10,000 items, the indexing capabilities are very, very powerful and can search your visual database very, very quickly. So I can quickly jump to the assistive technology course by clicking on it, and you can see that, in fact, I can jump to that very, very quickly. And your students will find it very, very both interactive and also very quick jump around from area to area. As you see in here, I have a PDF that links to something on one-on-one computing. I actually have a manual, which is a guide for using a program called Close Pro, and also I have a link to the web, actually to another personal brain, which I'll show you a little bit later. And that's exciting too, is that you can link to other brains. And you'll notice over here I have a couple of brains that are lined up. Let me just show you some of the ways that you might use this in some of the courses that you have. So here's language arts, and you can see we've broken it down by different topics like classics, composition, contemporary. So when I click on classics, it takes it right to the center. If we wanted to add something to that, again, I just pull down on the plex, and I could type something like Shakespeare. And then I can link some of Shakespeare's works. To go back to the starting off point, or the home thought, I just click on the home, and I'm back over here. And you can see I've broken it up by different areas. I'm going to go to page 12, and you can see that I've linked this to Shel Silverstein's poetry kit, which is, again, a PDF that was found on the web, which is really handy to have this information. I'm going to go back to, just to give an idea, United States presidents, and you can see how quickly I can open up basically a visual database on a student. And the other part, too, is one of the nice things that you can do is notice that when I hover over the name of the president, it's giving me some additional information. So when I'm over John Adams, it tells me he was a Federalist. And you can see that we've color-coded all those presidents that were Federalists in yellow, and all the blue are Democrats, and you could figure out what the reds were Republicans. So we can set these up as different thought types so that we can display additional information which would be meaningful to a student. I'm going to click on Kennedy to see if there's anything there. So we have, in this case, a picture of Kennedy. And, of course, if we went out to the web, we could attach a sound file of his famous speeches or any text-based information that he has. The other part too is I'm going to actually try this. Is if we had one of his speeches in here, just using one of the inexpensive text-to-speech applications. This is actually a free.
Welcome to free Natural Reader software. Our professional and enterprise version can provide more functions and better voices.
That's the commercial, but this is actually a free application. And if I had some text here, if I highlight it, let me just go here. Let me just change this to a float. Okay. And now I'm going to highlight the text, and sometimes I get these a little. I don't know if you could hear it, but it actually read the text to the students. I'll make this a little bit louder.
Text to speech.
So you can hear that. You can also use some assistive technology with this so that students can, I'm going to minimize this, so that students can get access to the text that was in here, which I think is another plus, is that anything in this window can be read, so that students can type information and have the text-to-speech support, which is really, really handy. I know I've done a fair amount, so I was wondering, Shelley, if there's any questions at this juncture.
Yeah, actually, in the text-to-speech, I got a few private chats on that.
Okay.
First of all, one attendee sent me a private chat about just understanding a little bit more about what assistive technology is and what that covers. And then somebody else had a question about your course on clinical practice and what that was about.
Okay, well, that's good. The assistive technology is really any technology, whether it be low-tech or high-tech or mid-tech, that increases the functional capabilities of someone with a disability. So typically, students who are in special education programs and have individual education plans or programs in the public schools are eligible free of charge for assistive technology. And so it is mandated by both federal and state statute, and is a requirement of IDEA, which is the federal guidelines with regard to special education in the United States. And so assistive technology is one of those technologies that is intended to allow students to become more independent and more functional in their skills. I tend to work with students who have high incidence disabilities, meaning students with reading and writing disabilities. Some you may recognize the term dyslexia. I work with a lot of kids who are dyslexic, have trouble reading, and so we use text-to-speech a lot in the applications that we use so that we can support them when they need access to text. So that's assistive technology. I teach graduate courses in assistive technology at the College St. Elizabeth in Morristown, New Jersey, and the clinical practice is the last course in the sequence where we're putting all the skills together. So the students have taken 5 technology classes, everything from introduction to assistive technology to how to do assessments using AT, to courses in reading and writing disabilities using assistive technology, to a course in multiple disabilities and assistive technology. And then the last course is a course in clinical practice, which they go out and they actually do some assessments, and we talk about case studies and also different issues that come up, both ethical issues and the practice of assistive technology, in the field of special education.
Great. And Brian, so what would your primary use be of Personal Brain? Is it more for your own repository and preparing you for your classes? Are you sharing brains with students, using it for research, just in terms of your own personal use?
I use it,
users want to get a little more personal and understanding where your primary use as well.
Well, I use a lot of different ways. One is I kind of keep it, sometimes just kind of keep it like this, and then something comes up and I want to add some information. I use it that way. I also do use it when I'm organizing workshops and things of that sort. I'll show you my Web 2.0, and I think this is, I know, Shelley, you'd asked me some of my favorite features, and in the fall I do workshops in the area of just educational technology, and I was doing something on Web 2.0, and I wanted to be able to show my participants who all are teachers what this Web 2.0 is all about. And so I developed this brain which has links to all kinds of information. And you can see that here are some applications. And if I go to blogs, you can see that I have different applications for creating blogs, or again, if someone wanted to understand what an RSS feed is, they could find out more information using this. So I use this both as a presentation tool, but in order to extend and make this an interactive tool, one of the really exciting features is the ability to actually export this as a site brain, and by that I mean that I could now take the contents and put this up on the web, which in fact is what I did. I could show you what that looks like. And I'm going to see. So here I'm using the search engine. You can see how fast that is, and I click on it. And here's my link. Well, that's going to take it out to there. But I'm going to actually go to
And Assistive Tech blogspot.com is Brian's blog, and he covers a wide range of topics from mind mapping to assistive tech, and I think we have it linked off our website, but for those of you who haven't been to his personal blog, do check that out after the session as well.
And I put a link. I have an e-board that I use also for a lot of repository for documents. You can see it has Web 2.0 workshop, and then I was able to, and this is really nice, this is the link to that site brain that I created, and it should load. And so now each of the participants was able to access this web and in real time. So rather than me have to say, go to www.google.com or
hello, Brian.
Okay. I'm here. Yep. So rather than having for me to tell them every time to go here, go there, you could easily just click on one of these items, and down here is the link. And when they clicked, it took them to the link right in the window, which was really nice because it kept everyone on the same page, and I didn't have to keep saying, type www.youtube. And again, this is totally, totally interactive. So I can go back here, and the students have the ability to kind of move around. So this is definitely one of my favorites, is the ability to go from this to creating a site brain, which is basically no more than clicking the export button and click on that and give it a name. I'm going to call this webinar. And I'm going to include everything, and I click OK, and it starts exporting. You can see up here it's exporting the process. So it's definitely a great way to be able to put your brains up on the web, and which it just did over here. This is the actual one that we created today. And if you're a teacher, all you need to do is give your IT person the folder, and they put it up on the web, and you have an instant website, which is, I think, very effective. Especially, we know that your students today, they are different. They think different. They think visually, and having information available to them 24/7 that they can access from home would be invaluable, because you can embed the documents and links and things of that sort as well. Let me see if I have any. I don't know if I embedded. Okay, but see for here, again, a teacher may have embedded a worksheet. In this case, it's a PDF file, and if I clicked on this, the PDF file would open. So you can, really support your students with rich, whether it be text as well as visual information using the personal brain, which I think is really exciting. And many of us don't necessarily have HTML skills and know how to create, sites, but this is a really, really quick process to do. Okay. Any more questions? Or?
Yes, we do have a fair number of questions, so let me go back into the Q&A, and that was very useful in terms of the site brain, and that did answer a number of questions that people had in terms of how you are sharing your brain with colleagues and students.
And the other thing too is, one of the other makes it really easy to share brains is to create a brain zip. And I happen to be in my college office, and I'm using a Windows application, but I actually created the Web 2.0 brain on a Macintosh, and just this week, because I was doing the presentation here, I created a brain zip by doing this and clicking OK. And you can see, and then it's going to ask me, do you want to open the folder? Yes. And there it is. And all I did was drag this Web 2.0 onto a little USB flash drive. And I then came back to my college office, dropped it on my desktop, and opened it up. So it's a very easy way to, move your brains. That's a funny thing. To move your brains using a USB flash drive. It makes it really easy, and you can see the files are pretty small. Even the teaching brain that we've been using is pretty small. So again, if you're on a Mac or a PC, or you're even working in a mixed environment, it makes it really easy whether you share your brains on the web as a website or whether you create a brain zip file. It's easy, and it's cross-platform, which is I think really exciting too, because I know that sometimes schools have Macs and people at home have Windows, or vice versa, but it doesn't really make a difference with this platform. It's very easy to go back and forth.
Great, and that's a nice segue, Brian, into John Hughes' question. He had a question and comment about, is there a danger that the use of multi-technologies will make the core message more difficult to get across? Do you think this brain approach allows a multi-mode approach within one technology?
Yeah, I'm really a firm believer in in I guess visual learning, or using multi-modalities, especially for learning, especially for kids have learning differences. But the other part too is I do a lot of work consulting to schools in K-12, both kids kids in regular classrooms and also students with disabilities. And one of the things I think we all need to understand too is that I think the students that are in the classroom today, they're different. They've grown up with computers. They've grown up with video games, for better or for worse, and they think differently. I think that technology like the personal brain are much more in tune with the way the students are learning. And it has nothing to do with personal brain, but I've been doing some work with experimenting using a new digital pen called the LiveScribe Pulse Pen, which I blogged about. And I finally got one, and I was using it in a classroom. I didn't say anything. I was just in the back of the room, and literally in 5 seconds, I had 20 kids around me asking me about the technology. And again, I think these kids, again, for better or for worse, their brains are wired differently, and they do respond to these kinds of technologies. And I think, too, we need to move more toward kind of more project-oriented approaches or problem-based learning to make it meaningful. These students, unfortunately, they don't respond to maybe the way I was taught, where the teacher lectured and I filled out some worksheets and then we moved on to the next topic. So I think hands-on, project-oriented kinds of things and putting tools like this into the hands of students, I think is very, very important, because two things. One is we know from studying the brain and knowing how students learn, is that if we don't engage, students don't learn, and that is really key. And I think oftentimes, I know we're in this in this arena of high-stakes testing, and testing is all important, but I think we're losing a lot of kids because we're not engaging them and not doing enough to use technologies like this and others to engage them in more problem-based learning, so they see some reason and some meaning for what they're doing. So I know it's a long response, but I really believe that more and more the more that I work with students. And I think too is that students today are in a role, because of the internet and technologies like this, that they no longer need to be passive. We have kids going home, creating YouTube movies and things like that. And so we need to see kids as being producers of information, and tools like this give kids the ability to produce information, produce knowledge. And since we do live in a knowledge economy, I think it's important for them to begin to have access to tools like this, because at some point they're going to be out of school, and I know I rely on these tools on a daily basis for the work that I do, and we need to show them that these are not just tools you use just from 9 to 3, but these are tools that are used in businesses and professions. And I'm beginning to see more and more business people looking at these tools as ways to solve their problems. And what better way to train our students early on that here are some really important tools that can help us solve things, look at things differently. And I think there's something definitely very engaging about the personal brain and drilling down and finding information.
Great. And we had a question or a request from David. He says, the Web 2.0 is a perfect example. As a student, I greatly appreciate having a copy of the Web 2.0 brain. Brian, is there any way that participants can get access to your Web 2.0 brain? That would just be
sure.
Sure,
I'd be glad to share that, or we can put it on your site. But we'll be able to get that to them. And yeah, it's a great tool. And then the other nice part is that it's really I like to think of the personal brain as a visual database. And so at any point in time, you could add additional information or take things away. But let me go. I'm going to go back to the teaching brain.
Okay, and we will pick up Q&A towards the end of the session again.
Yeah, sure, not a problem. Let's see, Great Depression. So I just clicked on the Great Depression. You got pictures. Okay, I can move that into the middle. Oop. And of course, students could also, link, additional information, websites, take notes down here. So I think from a student's perspective, it's a great project organizer when they're doing research, they're doing projects, because it can store, so much information. You can see the kinds of things that I could attach are endless, as well as links to files, PowerPoints, or any application that you have. So it's really a powerful tool. And of course, the note-taking capabilities is important as well. I'm going to go back to one of the other features. Let's see, charts. One of the other features is also the calendar feature. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to create, let's say I have a project due, and you can see that that's an existing idea. And again, because this is a relational database, it's constantly looking to see, is there some other piece of information I can link up with? So I'm going to click over here, And now if I click on Project Due, you can see that it linked the social studies diorama. And down here you'll notice that the calendar, I have a calendar down here, and notice that I have a project due on June 6th, and you can see that it marks it here for me. So students can also, some students that may have difficulty with time management could get into the habit of using a calendar. So one of the things a student who may have organizational difficulties might get in the habit of putting their assignments, their projects. Let's create another project. So we have a social studies paper. And here's the paper, and let's make this due April 30th. And add, and I'm going to do term paper due. And now the term paper is due, and it's marked. So again, the student may use this again as an organizational tool when they're working on projects, or even day to day. I think, like I said before, a lot of students tend to be very, very, very visual, and I think tools like this allow students to begin to explore different ways to organize themselves. And I think that's the other part too, is giving students the opportunity to work with tools like the personal brain allows them to find what works for them. Now, in every case, it may not work, but we need to investigate how tools like this can be used with students with organizational difficulties, and find tools that really kind of match and balance their learning style, because we know that text-based systems generally don't work really well, and this is something that, again, we might begin to explore with students to see how they might use this as an organizational tool throughout the day, because they can use it to record notes, they can use it to record when things are due, and they can also use it, basically as a reference for information when they're working on different projects throughout the day, which I think is really exciting. Now, I guess some of you may not realize that we could also use it for math, and here's some math web pages that we can go to, math.com. It's been a long time since I've done this, but I know that there are math teachers that are using this to link to different websites, teaching students different math concepts. So definitely you can include math in this as well. And again, if I click on polynomial, in this case there's nothing here, but again, teacher could include other concepts and ideas about the topics that they're using. I'm going to go back to the home. Let's see, post-secondary. So again, different ways you can, again, maybe a student is planning on going to colleges, and this could be a great tool to research different colleges with, because this is a relational, database, and it makes it easy to, put the information together. So maybe a guidance counselor may have a top university brain with links, for applications and information on different resources, for a particular college. So there's Berkeley homepage, and again, one of the nice parts is you can see the relationship. So we have the Berkeley homepage, and then the parent is top universities, and then these are all the child relationships, which are the yellow lines that span out to the right. And again, to just jump to any of them, I just click, and there I go. Again, if you're a guidance counselor or someone that works with students at the high school, you may have a map, or you may have attractions in that particular city that you can link right within the personal brain, to make it an interactive experience for a student who is looking at colleges maybe in their junior year. So there's just some ideas of how individuals are using it. Let me just go back here for a second. The other thing too is you'll notice that I have a green line and different. Sometimes they're different colored lines. If I click on a link, I can actually create different links to give me visual information. So, for example, Close Pro is definitely a visual tool. So I can make the link type visual learning, and now you notice that it's red. When I click on it, it gives me that label that says visual learning, so that a student would get additional information when they just hover over that particular item. And you can actually create your own labels, which can be another way to help classify and organize the information, which is again gives students additional information about a particular item in your personal brain. So, any more questions that I could?
Yes, we do have several existing and new questions popping up as you're demonstrating a few things, so this is great. One of the questions that I did want to get to, I believe, was from John about how the personal brain differs from other mind mapping technologies, and what's different about the personal brain.
I think what's different is the fact that this is kind of built on a relational database, so that things can link. So if I were to, let's say, go here and type assistive, let's see, if I wanted to categorize this under assistive technology consultant, now when I click on this, what happens is that it brings all that information with it. And this is almost, I guess, I was thinking about this on the way in today, it's just almost like a three-dimensional model of a traditional mind map, which lets you kind of drill down, find information, and it's also it's more of a visual database, and I think that's what makes it unique in terms of the way it organizes information, and also the ability to search within it is probably key. Typically, the other mind mapping or graphic organizer applications are not being used as a database per se, where this really is a visual database, and which gives you opportunities to embed documents, which I think is really important because it encapsulates everything, which means that when you move it, those documents, whether it be Microsoft Word or PDF files, go with it. And it also gives you the ability to link. So I think it's the relational database, and also the fact that it's three-dimensional really makes it a lot different than the traditional graphic organizers or mind mapping applications.
And just to expand on that, and I think it's interesting that you use the word database, because I think that really conveys the scalability of the software, in that really there are no limitations. So if you did want to map out, hundreds of thousands of Web 2.0 technologies, you can do that without limitation. The other example that I thought was quite powerful, Brian, is when you clicked on, I believe it was the Great Depression. I don't know if you want to activate that thought. The fact that, or maybe it was the New Deal, actually, the thought below it. If you just activate that one. The thing that I thought was interesting is that the New Deal was under multiple categories. You had it under Great Depression, mixed economics, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt, which was the president that implemented that plan. So that ability to have that concept under many different categories, I think with some of the other mind mapping software systems, you probably have to choose, do I want the New Deal under political policy, under mixed economics, or under the president? In this case, with the brain's visual linkages, you can kind of have it under all three of those concepts.
Right, and you can, again, when you click on something, it shows it shows you the relationships, which I think is key. And yes, the scalability, and also I think the indexing and the search functions. I just did a simple search here, but if I go here and do advanced, I could find a word like let's say depression, and click OK, and it generates a report for me, And the other part, too, which is exciting, I guess for even researchers, is that when you place PDF files, it indexes them, too. So it found the word depression that was embedded in a document within my brain, which is really exciting. If I clicked on that, let's see, where is that? Maybe it may be this. Let's see. And in this case, it was okay. This case, it was a link. But I think that's the really nice part, is the fact that it's indexing everything, and I can quickly move to it by just clicking. Here's mixed economics. So you can see how quickly I can find information, which, again, I think of this as a visual database that allows students to look at different linkages and see how information is connected.
Okay, great. And we have several questions. Some of them Harlan's been IMing people the answers,
okay.
But I want to highlight a few of them. Heather Gray had a question about if she puts her course brain on the web, do my students need the brain installed to view or use it? And
that's a great question. No, actually, what it does is it generates all the HTML for you. So all you need to do is give them a URL, and as long as the Java is enabled on their browser, they'll be able to actually view it with nothing else needed.
Right, and on the flip side of that, David had a question about the Brain Zip. Does a reader need a fully functioning copy of Personal Brain software to view it? To view a brain zip, and just to answer that real quick, is you can use the free. For the brain zip. Yes, in fact, you do need the software installed on the recipient's machine, but they do not have to pay for it. So, in other words, they can download our free version and still click through all your files.
Just one correction there on the site brains that are published to the web. Sorry, this is Harlan. They don't actually have to have Java on the browser. Just have to have any sort of modern browser.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, Shelley, you may want to just kind of differentiate. I think there's different personal brains that are available. I know with different features, you'd be better able to share with them what the feature set is.
Okay, very good. Yes, so we have the way our software trial works is with the Personal Brain product suite is you have 30 days to test everything. So anyone who downloads the software gets access to what we call all Personal Brain Pro features for 30 days, after which time, if you elect to not buy the software and just use it for free, maybe you're a student on a tight budget, you still gain the ability to continue to add thoughts, notes, and web pages, and that's Personal Brain Free. And Personal Brain Free can be used perpetually for people for their personal use or for students and educational instructors. Personal Brain Core, if you upgrade to that, that enables you to add files, so that includes emails, web pages, all that wonderful stuff. And then Personal Brain Pro, which you're seeing a lot of pro features in Brian's demonstration today, gives you the ability to have multiple file attachments per thought. So that means that's really important if you're doing a lot of versioning and don't necessarily want to have a thought for each document. Then you probably want to go up to Pro, and gives you that export capability that Brian was showing, as well as the calendar that Brian also demonstrated. And we do have more of the highlights of the differences on the site, and feel free to write into us. But those are the three options that you have, and they're specifically designed so that students on a budget can use the software for free, or if we have, the more power users or webmasters who are really into publishing, they have that capability as well. But go ahead and, like I said, for 30 days, you'll have access to all the features. And then if you share your brain, anyone can just download the eval, and that becomes the reader in the free version for them if they don't want to purchase.
Yeah, just show them, Shelley, since I'm running the Pro version, how I just drag these two files to this idea, and you can see that I have two different files that are linked, so that I can easily do that as well. I think with the Personal Brain, you need to download and just really kind of play around with it. And I'll be glad to share my Web 2.0 brain with you, which you can also use and kind of click through and get a feel for it. I think it won't be too long before you realize the power of this tool, not only for yourself, but I think for your students as well, as they begin to work on projects and you begin to think about different ways that you can use this. And I think, too, is that I know that having folders and directories are just one way, one avenue to organize your computer, but having the ability to embed the files is really, really powerful, or in some cases even folders. So for those students that are disoriented by directories and things like that, you can actually map out spaces for them so that they can have folders embedded in Personal Brain that allows them to navigate to files and URLs and things of that sort. So again, it can be used in many, many different ways, and it's only limited by your creativity and the time that you want to devote to it.
Okay, and we had another question from John. Does the high-tech view apply to all cultural views? I teach a wide range of ethnicities, and some are more digitally literate than others. In the area of SMS, is there a danger of creating a split society in using these technologies? Is the brain a good medium for teaching across all cultural barriers?
I do think so, but I think giving students access to this helps to level the playing field and sort of make this technology more equitable across the board. And I think I applaud your company for even having a version that allows them to play in the sandbox. And so I think it's important. Again, I think this is an adaptable technology, whether you adhere to more just text-based or you use picture icons. You can attach music files, URLs. So I think that it's important to give students access to this so that we don't have that digital divide of those that are in the in and those who are on the out. And I think when we give students the opportunity to use these tools, we, as a teacher, sometimes we are limiting in and of ourselves, and until we give these tools to the students, we don't know what they're really capable of doing with them, or them seeing different ways to use the tool in innovative ways where we may have our blinders on sometimes. So I think it's important, and I think this is the kind of tool that students with, I think, a wide range of both skills and also maybe, come from different cultures and backgrounds can bring something to the table when they're using a tool like this.
Okay, great. And we have a question from Glenn Bryan on, do you integrate your use of Personal Brain with learning management systems like Blackboard or Moodle? If so, how?
We do use Blackboard. I haven't, other than the URL, I haven't at this point, though. Shelley and I did an experiment using the advanced version of this that lives on the web, Brain EKP, right? EKP?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
And so we did experiment with, which is more, again, a similar tool to this, but the content is basically served up. And it was kind of interesting. I think that it could work, but I think I needed to spend a little bit of time with my students because they weren't of that mindset. And I think if I had to do it over again, which I will, actually this summer semester, I'm going to have the Personal Brain installed on the computers, and we're going to work with that before we move up to the Brain EKP, which is a more advanced application, but very similar in terms of creating a visual database that is hosted on a server. So I am exploring with these technologies with my students, hoping that they go out into the world and change the educational environments of students so that they can begin to use these tools in effective ways to raise achievement and to also, again, I'm a psychologist, and so to really engage kids in the learning process, because no matter how much we want to spoon-feed kids or how much we want to lecture, learning doesn't take place in that vacuum unless the kids are engaged, and these are tools that engage kids in the learning process.
Great. Okay, and we have a question from Dennis. Could you offer a common course, Intro to AT or Special Ed, to off-campus students like this webinar, so current and experienced students who have had this course could have a continuous participation with the course development and applications by yourself and or your students?
Currently, we actually offer the course as a hybrid course, so the students come to campus 7 weeks of the semester, and the other 7 they're doing experiential projects, and we also use Blackboard, and I use simulations and things of that sort. So right now, that's the way the program is set up. It's one of the I designed the program. It's one of the few programs in the state where we do offer courses, and we do it is a hybrid. All the courses are hybrid, and I think it works out really well because the students have a chance to, when the days they're on campus, to actually learn how to use the software, and then they're given time to actually apply it and think about projects and do hands-on kinds of things. But I have not explored yet, an all online, program or courses at this point in time.
Okay, and then we have a comment, I think, from the answering of the mind mapping or some other question from John. Yes, I see. It, meaning the personal brain, allows the centered paradigm to change and allow different views of the truth. So I thought that was kind of an interesting comment.
Yeah, because it puts things in focus. It really does. Depending upon what you're clicking on and what you're working on, it definitely shows a relationship, and it puts things in focus.
Okay, and David had another comment in response to the question about what's different. The jump link is an important difference. Most others are parent-child only. And yes, David, that is a good point. The lateral connection, I guess I'll let Brian, you can jump over to your inspirations and your friends if you want to demonstrate that.
This is a jump brain, which is not a parent or a child relationship, but just kind of a jumping off point. So when I click on that, it takes me to a whole nother view, but it's not, it's not necessarily related as a parent or a child, but it does allow me to kind of go off on a different track that may not be directly related to that concept or an idea, which, again, is unique. And, again, it's sort of like that concept of having a three-dimensional working area that allows you to drill down to different information. But, yeah, it's a good point.
Okay, and then another comment. Okay, so I start to see now, with my research, I'm developing a KM approach to providing back office supports to humanitarian relief operatives. This might work.
Yeah, and I think certainly, I had an opportunity, and I've worked with Brain EKP, which is, again, would allow someone who's interested in doing more back-end stuff and giving access and giving people the ability to, the right, in that case, to add information can be a very, very powerful tool. But certainly if there was just one person who was authoring the information, certainly if you had, Personal Brain Pro and you put the information up on the web in a secure environment, if you have any proprietary or confidential information, that can work as well. But if you want to give other people in your organization the ability to change, manipulate, and interact with it, then, Brain EKP might be the way to go. But you can certainly start out with the Personal Brain, and you can see that if I go to File and Export, you can export this to Brain EKP. So you can start small and then advance to something like the Brain EKP for back-end, data integration with, a larger system where you may have other people in other offices or other countries that may need access or the ability to produce, create, or change some of the information. But Brain EKP has a very, very similar interface. So once you become comfortable with this, jumping to Brain EKP is really very easy.
And I
should note too that the folks at the Personal Brain are tremendous in terms of their support in using their technologies, and I do want to thank them for that. We like I said, we did use the Brain EKP, and their support was fantastic.
Well, thank you, Brian. And I just want to add, we mentioned EKP a little bit, and some of you I saw through the message and the chat logs, and I think Harlan answered some of those questions, had questions about passwords and dynamically updating a SiteBrain, and those types of features, when you're getting into multi-level access controls and permissions, is something that we offer, but that's not within the Personal Brain suite that we're focusing on today. That is more of an EKP, which does require its own web server, but for those of you that do need that capability, we have it in our other product line, and feel free to contact us on that.
And I think, too, it's important, especially if you're working with individuals that may not be as technologically sophisticated, searching and finding information, either in the Personal Brain or the Brain EKP, it's a great way to go, as compared to a more traditional, database application, because individuals are used to clicking and searching, so it can be a very fast way to retrieve information visually, which I think will be a lot easier, using a program like this.
Okay, and then just a question from Ken about can the free copy of Personal Brain reference to links or files? And again, just to clarify for those of you that didn't see that answer, the free version, you have access to link files for 30 days. After that, you can have notes and web pages. In order to link files, you do need to then go to Personal Brain Core. And I will mention we do offer a 10% discount to all educational users. We had another. We have several more questions, so we'll. Okay. I know we are on the hour. How are you doing for time?
I've probably about five more minutes.
Okay, so let's just a couple more questions.
Okay.
Could you use the Personal Brain as a syllabus for the class year, so students have the free version installed?
Yes, I mean as long as as a faculty member, you're comfortable with putting things up on the web. Certainly, you could use it as a syllabus or a site, or to put information, embed documents, embed PDF files, things of that sort. So yes, it could easily be turned into a way to deliver a course that's on the web very, very easily.
Okay, great. Well, I think we've got most of the questions. Brian, I'm going to just pass it over to you for any final closing remarks. And for those of you that do have additional questions, feel free to email support. And Brian, I'll let you go ahead and give the address of your blog or any other kind of contact information that you want to provide to people. We are providing a complimentary copy of your newsletter, Brian. I'm not sure what issue, but if you want a copy of that, they can email me at shayduck@thebrain.com. So that's SHAYDUK@thebrain.com, the same person who emails you the reminders.
Sure,
and I'll pass it over to you, Brian, for any closing remarks on our session today.
Thanks. I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their busy day to listen to the webinar. This is my blog, assistivetech.blogspot.com, and my email address you can find on my blog if you'd like any additional information. I will make the latest version of my newsletter. It's a national newsletter that goes out in the area of special ed and educational technology and assistive technology. I'll make that available. And Shelley, I will email you a copy of my Web 2.0 Brain that please feel free to distribute. I think just to kind of summarize, I think the Personal Brain gives students the opportunities to work with multiple modalities, and I think the students today, they think a little differently, and visual learning is really key, especially when working on projects, and engaging kids in the learning process and seeing how ideas and concepts go together. I think is one of the strengths of the Personal Brain. And I think, too, there's something, even I found it, something engaging about clicking and different ideas coming into focus, which I think is engaging and also captures, the student's imagination.
All right, great. Well, Brian, thanks from all of us who participated in the session today. And that's going to conclude our session on Inside the Mind of the Educator. We have several other events for this month, including thought typing and mapping out your passion. So you can go to TheBrain.com to sign up for those. And this will conclude our session. Thanks for everyone who participated.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.